A local consumer group has just released an in-depth look into the insurance industry's handling of last year's wildfires.
Yeah, that report accuses the industry of things like using hidden algorithms to drop homeowners and minimizing payouts to fire survivors. Consumer investigator Christine Lazar is here with more on that. Christine.
Good morning. You know, I think we all kind of recognized with the fires that the fire was the first trauma. The second trauma was dealing with insurance.
Right.
And people had a really hard time whether their home burned down or whether it was still standing. Consumer Watchdog analyzed court records and contracts and interviewed fire survivors and experts to compile this lengthy report. I'm joined now by one of the authors, Justin Kloczko. Justin, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hey, good morning. Good to be with you.
So the report talks a lot about how technology, namely AI and algorithms, are being used to determine how much insurance coverage one needs and whether companies will insure someone or drop someone. How has that been problematic?
The short end of it is we don't know how these rates are being determined or rebuild costs. Basically, we've been talking to fire survivors who have lost their homes, and they're short as much as $1 million to rebuild what they had before. So we're finding out that one company sells software that determines how much coverage you should have, and that's often a black box, and how much rebuild costs should have. And you know, when these people try to find out and get these reports for rebuild costs, they just don't understand it. It's basically just gibberish, and it's a problem. It's a big problem because this is happening all over the state and across the West.
Now, after last year's wildfires, I spoke with so many homeowners who are upset with the work being done by subcontractors hired by their insurance, from the cleaning crews to the adjusters they sent. What did your research find?
Well, I think most people think when they're getting their homes remediated that, you know, these supposed testers and cleaners are independent, but they're not. What we found is that they work for all the big insurance companies. And for example, one big corporate consultant actually testified in court records that he basically just smells around a house to determine if it should be cleaned of carcinogens. He did some minimal tape testing, but he recommended, you know, one home that it should just be basically left alone. And that same consultant in a home in Altadena in a report said that he actually said that sea spray from the ocean might be a reason why there's toxins in the home. And, you know, as everyone knows, Altadena's like 25 miles away from the ocean. So it's very strange. They're not testing properly and they're not cleaning.
So Consumer Watchdog interviewed fire survivors and compiled a list of 10 practical tips they recommend for navigating insurance claims. Can you go over some of those?
Yeah, for sure. Keep a record of everything because they'll tell you one thing on the phone and they'll say something else in an email. So keep a record, you know, take collective action, you know, talk to your community, talk to other people, and you know your policy and kind of know what's going on. I know that seems like kind of a big task, but you know, knowledge is power, and it's important to kind of stay informed and to fight. You know, it's basically a full-time job. You have to fight, unfortunately, for what you're owed.
All right, Justin, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing that information. Sheba, Rachel, back to you.